What's going on, guys? Chris with Journos Comics here. I'm going to be doing a slightly different video today. This has nothing to do with comics, but it has to do with Transformers. As you know, I'm a big Transformers fan. Got my Hot Rod, my Rodimus right here. I'm going to talk about Transformers The Last Night and this revealing of the new Hot Rod for the new movie. And so I've been reading a lot of reviews, a lot of stuff on Facebook and social media. And as usual with the Michael Bay franchise, there is a lot of negative feedback. So before I go into it in detail, let me just give you guys a little bit of feedback of my personal opinions on the Michael Bay movie franchise. The first movie I enjoyed. I'm not going to sit here and have any problems with the first movie. I think he did a really good job, you know, with the storyline, with introducing the characters. I like how they did the Autobots, where they stayed very true to form for, obviously, Optimus. But they did what they had to do in terms of the changes to make it realistic. I know the Decepticons kind of threw me off too at first because of how alien they looked, and they didn't really look much like the cartoon. But I understood what they were doing, and I felt it worked. The Peter Cullen coming back as Optimus Prime, I mean, that was huge. And for him to stick it out through the whole movie franchise so far, that's number one on my list in terms of you know, really them handling that how they should have. Again, the storyline was great. I thought Shia LaBeouf, or LaBeouf, however you say his name, did a really great job, and the human-robot interaction was great. After that, second movie, third movie, the fourth movie, I thought all of that kind of started crumbling down. I thought the Transformer characters weren't built up as they should have been. They started really kind of taking or going really far away from the identities of the characters in terms of how they were in G1, whether it would be their attitude or even the way they looked. And then, you know, I thought the movie started getting kind of watered down with the, you know, storylines that kind of bounced around that weren't really solid, with, you know, tying so much into the story of the humans instead of focusing it on the story of the Transformers. So, and again, I could find some certain elements in all the movies that I thought played well, but just were kind of, you know, drowned out by all this other nonsense. And number 4, this last one, was probably showed the epitome of that, because them bringing on Megatron, I thought was huge, and then bringing in the Dinobots, I thought were really huge positive things that they can bring into the movie, but there was so much else watering it all down that it kind of took from that. And again, I understand how things need to evolve and how the storyline possibly needs to change for the cinematic universe, and not, you know, everything doesn't stay the same. I get that, but there's certain elements that I don't think should have been touched, like in the last one, how the humans got involved in recreating Transformers, and they weren't transforming anymore. They were these flying little cubes of this metal that formed a Transformer. I think that was a very negative aspect that Michael Bay and his team and all the writers brought into the movies. Now, going into The Last Night and this reaction with Hot Rod. So, basically, I'm going to say it like this, because this is what I've been hearing. People that are defending it are bringing up some of the things that I said, you know, about the fact that changes need to be made. This isn't the 80s cartoon. And, you know, they look great. Oh, so what if it doesn't look like G1? It looks great. This is my reply. Why name it Transformers if you are not going to take proper elements from where the Transformers came from? Why name it Transformers? I look at them. You guys, look, if you haven't seen them, Google it. All of the robots that have been in the Transformers films, maybe besides a couple, and even this one, they look great. I will say it, Hot Rod looks great as a robot, but it's not Hot Rod. okay? I was reading through some comments too, and one guy was like, why don't you just like put the little spoiler fin on it? You know, have one little element that shows us that, oh yeah, I can recognize that is Hot Rod. There's none of that there, or at least from what I saw. Now again, there was only like 2 or 3 images that I saw. We have yet to see if they're gonna make any changes, but I completely agree with the fact that Michael Bay and his team are not taking the proper elements and adding them to the changes that I feel should be made. So again, you know, I don't expect the Transformers to look exactly like the G1, but I want there to be certain elements. And again, I'm going to go back to Optimus Prime. I mean, he is key to them taking that familiar look and making it work for the modern movie franchise. And he's amazing. Even Bumblebee. Bumblebee wasn't this little bug. He was still smaller than, you know, Optimus and some of the other Transformers. But, I mean, his design was almost completely different. But yet, just him being yellow, you know, and certain characteristics kept us fans knowing that this is Bumblebee. This is a Bumblebee that we can relate to. Even Jazz, who was not the same car, was completely like silver or gray. But when you looked at him, they kept the visor. You know, they kept the kind of like the visor that he wore in the G1 cartoon. You knew it was with the pointy ears too. You knew it was Jazz. You know, and he had the same kind of attitude too. So that's going to play into it as well, not just look. So, on my final word, just going back to Michael Bay, the negative comments, the defense of Michael Bay, and this is what I'm going to have to say about this. I do not dislike Michael Bay as a producer. Or a director. He's made some great movies. Pain and Gain, I really enjoy that movie. The first Bad Boy movie was an awesome movie. You know, when he would team up with Bruckheimer, I forget. You know, they did The Rock. You know, they had elements that made their movies good, and Michael Bay's brought that to a lot of his movies. And again, some of it's cliche, but you could look at Quentin Tarantino and say that some of his stuff is cliche because it's his own style, and he brings that to the table every time. So for what he does, he repeats his way of doing things. Michael Bay does the same thing. It's nothing to necessarily hate on, but it is a problem when you take a franchise that has been around for, you know, 30 plus years and you completely stray from, you know, what the elements of that franchise should be. Again, we have to embrace change. We have to allow it to grow. So I'm just going to say this, with some of the statements that Michael Bay has made himself about, and again, I'm not quoting word for word, but he made a statement after the last movie came out about how, you know, he doesn't care what people think as long as it's successful, as long as it's bringing in money. My humble opinion, I don't know Michael Bay. If I could sit down with them and talk with them man to man one day, I would respect that. I think Michael Bay's ego is way too big. I think his ego gets in the way of his ability to go outside of his box. I think his ego has eliminated the ability for him to continue to take insight and feedback from other players that are involved in the Transformers franchise, to where he could stay true to certain elements from G1, from where this franchise has originated from. And I will say, I've heard the argument, oh, Michael Bay's done so much for this franchise, he's grown this franchise so much. Stop right there. 23 years it had been that the franchise of Transformers had been going when the first movie came out. I'm going to tell you right now, anybody, any movie studio, any director, and any writer could have took this franchise, brought it to the cinematic universe, into the cinemas, and done what Michael Bay has done. Basically what I'm saying is this franchise made itself. You can't sit and say, well, if Michael Bay didn't do this to the franchise, it wouldn't be what it is today. No. Michael Bay and his franchise within the movies wouldn't be what it was if Transformers itself as a franchise wasn't what it was already before Michael Bay had anything to do with it. And that's my word. So that's that, guys. I could go on for days about this. This is something I'm very passionate about. Obviously, I keep a very balanced perspective. You know, keep the hate. You know, don't hate. The death threat. You know, Michael Bay's getting death threats and all this stuff. That's just ridiculous. I mean, come on, he's a human being. You know, and as much as I hate the movies, I can still go and enjoy certain aspects of them. But it's disappointing. It really is disappointing. Dislike it, have an opinion on it, but you know, keep the hate out of it, guys. You know, and leave some comments, guys. I love opinions, even if it's different from mine. Keep it peaceful. Like I said, we can respect each other's differences and respect each other's opinions. So respect that in the comment box. And you know, if as this grows, as we get more images and more characters, I am excited about the lineup of characters. I heard a rumor that Ultra Magnus is going to be in it. I don't know if that is true or not, but he was one of my favorite G1 characters. So you know, I keep an open mind, and I wish Michael Bay would keep a little bit more of an open mind as well in terms of what he does when he goes into these movies. So that's that for now, guys. I appreciate you watching. For all those Transformer fans out there, appreciate you tuning in. And like I said, leave some comments. I want to hear you guys' feedback. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Like I said, I can do probably many more videos on this topic as more information comes out about this movie. So appreciate you guys watching. Till next time.